So hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel. I got to show you guys something that I came across as I was driving down the street, and we got this here. It says Russia is not your enemy, but the Great Reset is. So I came over here and I wanted to learn more about what the message was being delivered here, and I have Sam here with me, and I'm gonna introduce you guys to Sam. So Sam, just tell the folks out on YouTube what you told me.
Yes, well, we're here in Florida, and we just arrived from Washington, D.C., where you had 2 days ago, there was this rally, perhaps you heard of it, the Rage Against the War Machine rally. And this it has 10 demands, but essentially we're trying to seek greater responsibility and diplomacy to stop sending weapons and money to inflame a dangerous situation, a war in Ukraine, and to focus on, improving life in the U.S. and also seeking win-win cooperation with countries like Russia and China. China's building a lot of infrastructure, and I think we could cooperate in this and other areas. And we came specifically to this part of Florida because it's the district of Matt Gaetz, who just introduced the legislation to cut off the additional weapons and funding to the Ukraine war. I think it's over 100 billion now. I think I lost count. And
climbing, yeah.
Yeah. And so, Joe Biden, before he went to going to East Palestine, he went to Ukraine, and I think now he's in Poland. Should we send out a silver alert? What else? So the Great Reset. We need to pursue, in my opinion, we need to pursue a productive economy and not this type of financial derivatives, funny money bubble that, it's every day that goes on, it gets closer to popping. And so,
So when you say that Russia is not our enemy, but the Great Reset is, what does that mean exactly?
Well, we've got things like the Green New Deal. What people try and make this idea that CO2 is pollution. CO2 is plants for food. Plants need it to grow. Is food for plants. Plants need it to grow. Plants ingest carbon dioxide, and in doing so, they release water. And so when there's greater concentrations of CO2 in the atmosphere, the less water they need. So the more CO2 there is in the atmosphere, it actually makes the planet greener. It's not the other way around. And so... And
your background is?
I'm a library employee. I'm an American citizen.
From Harvard?
I had been previously working at Harvard. I worked in Chicago, also the University of Chicago. But, I'm worried about, the way some of these, liberal strongholds are going. I don't want to be too partisan because I think, America coming together, we could build a better country.
Do you see a dollar collapse anytime soon?
I'm afraid of that. Because, what the U.S. has done is kind of weaponized the dollar and the more sanctions we place on other countries, then those countries that are sanctioned just start to work together. You see,
to work against the dollar.
Yes, people, China's ditching treasury securities, Russia, and they're making agreements to make settlements in currencies like the ruble, like the yuan, Chinese yuan, renminbi, and I'm afraid of that. It's a lot of average people are who's suffering.
Absolutely. So what information do you have here?
We have quite a lot of, we got a number of booklets. This is our latest booklet here. It's Stop NATO's World War, Dismantle the International Assassination Bureau. See, there's a mushroom cloud and the President JFK there. We know there's been a lot of who's been assassinated in U.S. history, who's been assassinated in world history. It's presidents that have sought a real sense of sovereignty and economic development and cooperation with countries around the world. We had JFK. We had, in the world, Patrice Lumumba was assassinated. It's not just in the U.S. So I think we really have the world to gain here. And you know, other things like the Great Reset.
That's why they wanted their independence, because they were being
So if
slaughtered by a
people
right
wanted to get more
sector.
information, contact you, help support, how can they do that?
Well, we could do at the Schiller Institute website, and also at the LaRouche organization, is who we're here represent.
LaRouche.
Yes, Lyndon LaRouche. Perhaps you've heard of him.
Okay, I think it's right here.
Do you think the United States would accept us putting Russian nuclear weapons right on our border?
Have you had any opposition since you've been here or since you came down from DC arguing against your case?
Here and there, you know, there's always disagreements, but the response has been overwhelmingly positive. And you know, not everyone has to agree on absolutely every point. We're trying to build unity amongst the people. So we have people being manipulated against each other, hate their neighbors, they hyper-focus on racist issues, you know, kind of cultural issues. There are some issues, you know, with racism, but through this, we can come together to solve these things, I think.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we have a better chance of coming together to solve these things rather than just trying to further, I don't know, promote the conflict by fueling the war. And, you know, with American citizens and taxpayers suffering the most because we have to pay for it.
The economy, the inflation's gone out of control. I think, you know, the Wall Street speculation and, you know, pursuing wars abroad has only made things worse.
Absolutely.
So the American people deserve better, and you know, we could fight for a better republic.
And Sam, your friend?
This is my friend Chris there.
Chris?
Hi. Hey. Well, I think after this this rally this weekend that we were at in DC, Rage Against the War Machine, and people from the left, the right, all across the spectrum came together with one singular message: stop nuclear war, or we're not going to have anything to argue about. It's the end.
That's a strong message.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You guys, take it easy.
Okay, thanks. Well, Kevin.
All right, everyone, we start off today talking about the Rage Against the War Machine rally that actually was held yesterday in the United States in D.C. Fairly good attendance. I love seeing some of the propaganda claiming, well, there was only a few hundred people that showed up there, and they were all a bunch of Russian sympathizers. You do realize that people are capable of fact-checking the crowd size by looking at clips other than the very, very carefully close-in shots that are being described by the missing link media that opposes the concept of the anti-war movement. And that is what this is. Now, that means strange bedfellows. So you got Ron Paul up on stage, but you've also got former Dem Tulsi Gabbard. You've got Dennis Kucinich there. You've got the LP's leadership like McArdle. And then you have people who represent left-wing groups too. A link in the description archived, of course, is just one of the stink pieces about this. This comes from the World Socialists. The far left, the pro-war far right, the neocons, the neolibs are all completely out to lunch. There are so many different compelling reasons to oppose brinksmanship with Russia at this time. Not even just the ethical ones, the economic ones make sense. War inflation is definitely a thing when you're spending tens of billions of dollars abroad, and you're printing that somewhere, I think. It can become a problem. You do have the ethical question. I would say the strategic question as well is one that needs to be addressed, which is what good is being done.
At this event on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial,
Let's be the thing that reignites the anti-war movement.
patience for the war in Ukraine was running thin.
I don't think we need to be involved in escalating tensions with Ukraine because it might lead to nuclear conflict.
If I was a parent in Ukraine, I would not send my children to die for Crimea. I think they need to negotiate.
Hundreds of people made it clear they want the United States' support of Ukraine to stop, but others feel very differently.
Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Russia.
At the moment, Ukraine is fighting for its life.
It's all about freedom. Freedom is the most important thing in life and in the universe.
Across the street from the White House, these demonstrators, many with ties to the country Georgia, argued for continued U.S. support of Ukraine's fight against Russia.
Right now, there's a fine line between Ukraine and Europe, and there's also a fine line from Europe to the United States.
The nation, like Sunday's demonstrations, seems to be divided. A recent AP NORC poll says 48% of Americans support the U.S. sending weapons to Ukraine. 29% oppose it, and 22% said they had no opinion.